welcome to my channel, Sway Bay and Politics. I don't know whether this is on Sway Bay and Anime or Sway Bay and Politics, so if you like either politics or anime, please visit my channels. Other than that, let's begin. So, I wanted to talk about today is One Piece and activism, right? Even though Luffy and his crew is more of a libertarian group, I want to bring that up because I know people are going to be in the comments like, Luffy ain't got no political affiliation. He's a libertarian. He's all about freedom, free markets and stuff like that to a certain extent. But I wouldn't say that Luffy himself is a capitalist, in my opinion. I would say that Luffy is more libertarian, but also he's somewhat of a socialist in the same time. And like, just listen why I think that. It's because oftentimes with Luffy and the Straw Hat crew, when they're on adventures, they do tend to try to distribute wealth to folks if they're in dire needs, as well as they don't necessarily like charge fees for rescuing like certain like islands, right? I think that Luffy would be more of a capitalist for like, basically charging money to like, to help Fishman Island, or charging money to like help certain like other people who are in danger. Usually they do that in like out of the kindness of their hearts and they save them. So I feel like that's like a socialist like thing, to do, because if they're more capitalistic, it would just turn into a market, or maybe there's more neoliberalism where it's just like everything's a market. So I feel like Luffy doesn't really do that. In addition to that, I would say that One Piece has a lot of aspects to activism, both like, social justice activism, fascism, and also it has a lot of like social justice activism, fascism, and like, a lot of like capitalistic militaryism, like, all these things. And I would say that because like a lot of times with One Piece, I would say that like a lot of the fascism is probably coming from the world government, and they're trying to make sure like everyone is this conformist being, right? And they hate the pirates. And don't get me wrong, like again, like a lot of people say, like I'm gonna acknowledge this, the pirates, not all pirates are good, right? But I think Luffy and his crew begin to see that like the Straw Hat crew, they'll see that the government is not necessarily like open to helping everyone, and that the government itself is corrupt. And so I think that one thing that it shows that we can take away when it comes to just everyday activism, especially like social justice activism, or even when you're talking about like activism on like the right or the left or whatever like that, I would say the thing that we could take away is that things aren't inherently like neutral, right? Like it's like on one side we have folks who are like, that the world government for me is like horrible, right? But because they are like who they are, they also have corruption, and then some good people mixed in a bunch, right? Or some good people led astray, or these are some people's only way out, so they take this path. And then also for the same thing with being a pirate, some people like have like terrible upbringings, and they ended up becoming pirates, and this is how they find family, and they were outcast, and they were not accepted in their communities, and they didn't have another place to go, they wanted to travel, etc., etc., and so they became pirates, right? And I think that one thing that I think Oda does the most, which Oda is the creator of One Piece, and he does the best, is that he shows that both sides have the same wants and desires, yet one side is more extreme than the other, right? And even though I know pirates are out of control, but I think that the Straw Hat crew is one thing that we see that's different, and that's why that we root for Luffy to be king of the pirates, because we just don't want another dictator, right? We don't want Blackbeard to be king of the pirates, right? Because he's horrible, right? We want Luffy to be king of the pirates because he's a good person, because he cares, right? And even though Luffy is an idiot, we know at the end of the day, he says when they asked him, why do you want to be king of the pirates? He says it's because I want people to be free, right? Because he knows that people were not free, right? Like the world government had done things like, like racist things like in One Piece, where they didn't let fishmen like on the surface, and they sold them into slavery, and they also like wouldn't allow like blood transfusion, right? With fish people and like non-fish people. And I think that that's like something like the world government participated in a lot of the oppression of the fish kingdom, right? And even like other places as well. So the world government has not been on the best side of that. And so then you have like activism coming in for pirates, which these pirates are coming up because they have been outcast, they have been disenfranchised, and this is due to the way the world government has treated them, right? Like even with Blackbeard and his story too, being, and forgive me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen it in a while, this particular part, and spoiler alert for people who don't like spoilers, but I think that even with Blackbeard's backstory, he was like a poor kid, right? He grew up poor, like he didn't like have much, and then Whitebeard allowed him into his crew, right? And so then we having the same things that we're seeing in like more disenfranchised communities is the things that we're seeing in One Piece, where these communities who are being disenfranchised and disinvested in are now coming together and raiding against the world government. And those who are pro world government look at it and say, oh, these hoodlums, these, part of the worst generation, they're terrible, pirates are horrible. But on the other side, people fail to recognize the horrors and understand, even like that they don't know, some people just don't know the horrors that the world government has done to people, right? And so many of these folks that we see along the Straw Hat Pirates crew journey that are disenfranchised or like in poverty, right? Or not having the things that they need. And we see this because a lot of times, because of the way the world government is taking over, because of taxes that they have, they are doing that. But then on the other hand, for those who are thinking like, okay, you talking about the world government, but what about the pirates, right? Yes, the pirates also are taking advantage of this, and they became the actual, it's like a saying, basically. They became the villain, right? They became the, I don't know how to say it. It's like basically they became the thing that they were fighting against, right? So so the concept that I'm thinking of, right, is that pirates fought against basically so we are seeing that they become the villain that they were trying to run from, right? And so we started to see that like now they became the villain that they were trying to run from. And so we begin to see that now that the world government is horrible, but also we begin to see that the pirates are horrible, right? And not all pirates are horrible. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that the world government caused it to be pirates, right? And it's something that's really interesting about that, and we can even connect it to like, our world's history, right? Where a lot of the times, even when we talk about like, pirates of today, right, that are from like, I think Senegal, Senegal pirates, and these are like I'm just gonna say this is like these black folks who are like on the coast of Africa who are now pirates, and how like a lot of people were complaining about them years ago and saying like they're horrible, etc., but then they failed to realize that Western powers and Western imperialism has caused the rise of these pirates, right? And that pirates became there because they were disenfranchised. And when I say disenfranchised, a lot of these folks don't have money. A lot of these folks live in very like poor countries. A lot of these folks don't have clean water, clean clothing, etc. And this is a way they can survive. As well as people are angry, right? Like the pirates are angry with the world government. People in our world are angry with the powers that be. And so now they're finding means to dismantle it, whether it is good or bad, or people are neutral about it. It's whatever, but these are side effects of these things happening. And I think that that's the one thing that I love about One Piece. It's such a like integral like political theme that's going underneath it, and maybe I will go deeper in it if this video does well, or like if I feel like it too, just to go in it and bring back my caricature not my caricature bring back my little Soybe little character, but yeah, I think that that's something that is super important to realize as we are talking about politics and stuff like that, and as we are watching anime. Like, I love anime, don't get me wrong, I love anime, but I think a lot of times a lot of political commentary in anime, and I think sometimes people miss it because they're like, I love the characters. And people who, and this is a side note, maybe I should do another video and maybe I end here. Okay, thank you everyone, have a nice one. Check out part 2 because I'm about to film it now. And other than that, don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.